Somebody was like trying to sell their parking space for $100,000. And I was like, what? Good morning. It is 5:30 a.m. Yes, I am exhausted. Yes, we are looking rough. Today is my last day, technically, as a managing editor for a publication that I run. It's been a strange turn of events over the last couple of months. A lot of what is happening right now is a lot of what I didn't expect to happen, but man, does life have a funny way of just really messing shit up sometimes, and you have no control over it. I basically quit my full-time job. I have been a managing editor of one publication for a little more than 18 months, and then I took over another publication recently, probably a couple months ago now, or coming up on a couple of months. I've had a nagging feeling about this for a while. Almost 2 years ago, I tried to leave journalism, and I guess the fates had other plans. I ended up going full digital as opposed to being on TV and radio, and it was a really great journey for a little bit, and then it just started to not feel right anymore. And I think there are a lot of different things that are happening in the industry. I'm based in Canada, so there's this thing going on where you basically can't see links to pieces on any sort of meta platform, so Facebook and Instagram. And that's essentially, there are different arguments about this, but it's ultimately because of a bill called C-18. Yeah, it's just been exhausting to try and carve a space out for yourself in an industry that was already dealing with issues. I am starting my own sort of marketing company. It's a little bit of everything. This channel's kind of a canvas for me to sort of do whatever I want with it, and it's my space to take time away because I will be creating for a lot of different brands, and I want to have a space for me. So I'm just gonna get ready for the day. So I've already straightened my hair. I have a Dyson Corral. I was initially really crazy about this product. I got it in 2020, I think. When it first came, like a couple months after it came out, and I really liked it. And now the battery power just sucks. I think part of the issue is the battery needs to be replaced, but apparently you can't do that with this. Usually the reason why I'm up so early, I actually drive my husband to work. So he works at 4 in the morning, but we have to be up for 3:30. It's a quick jaunt right now because we haven't started moving yet. Actually, our new place, it would be pretty close to. It's about a 12-minute drive from our new place to his current place of work. He and I initially met in journalism school. We both ended up working in radio, and he got laid off in 2018. He went to go work for a local online company, and then he got laid off again in 2022. He's currently working in warehousing, and he actually really likes it, which is nice. I ended up accidentally in journalism. It was a complete accident. I lost my aunt in hit and run, and I had to do media for the family. My mother had no interest in doing an appeal for the driver to come forward. Oh, this is the Ordinary, by the way. I was trying to get it to focus. There we go. I use this because my skin, I have oily skin, but my skin is actually really dry. The hilarious thing about this is it looks like Pepto-Bismol. But yeah, I lost my aunt in a hit and run, and it was all very sad and all very upsetting. And I was 19 at the time, so I was like finishing school. I was finishing university. I have a bachelor's degree in sociology and anthropology, joint major in sociology and anthropology. This is CosRX. There we go. I love this stuff. This stuff helps with the dryness in my skin. So I accidentally ended up in journalism that way because I had to do appeals for the driver to come forward. They eventually did. They were sentenced to, I think it was like something like 5 months, I think in jail. There's jail and there's prison. So I think it was 5 months in jail and then 2-year driving prohibition. So the person wasn't allowed to drive. And I was told like, hey, there's like a program at BCIT, which is the British Columbia Institute of Technology. They do a lot of different they offer lots of different courses there. And so there was a course for journalism. I think at the time it was called broadcasting and online journalism. I think it still is. And yeah, so I ended up applying and I got in, and that's how I met my husband. Fast forward, we've been married for 5 years. We got married February 4th, 2018. Beautiful wedding, I thought. It was like the perfect wedding. It had fewer than 20 people there, which was great and is very atypical of a Filipina. I am half Filipina on my mom's side, and my parents are both dead. So no, I have no contact with my parents for obvious reasons. And I'm actually in the process of trying to reconnect with my culture and my heritage. So I'm getting to know people, and I'm starting to get more acquainted with my culture, particularly through food. We actually came back from California not too long ago. We went to Super Mario World or whatever, Super Nintendo World. I keep calling it Super Mario World because of the game. We had a lot of fun. It was for his 38th birthday. The second day was just kind of exploring parts of California. And for those who have been to California, you'll know that it's like quite vast. It's kind of, it's a lot for one trip, especially when it's it's a trip that is only 2 full days. We ended up going to Olvera Street, and we also ended up finding there were a couple of places that we knew of from other videos on YouTube that we watched that have talked about Filipino places to eat in California. So we actually went to Filipino Town, but there was also a place in Glendale that served Filipino food, and it was so good. It was amazing. We went to go get basically like a silog. So a silog is like a breakfast style meal, and you usually have garlic fried rice, and you may have vinegar with your rice. And it usually comes with an egg and then your choice of like another maybe protein, like fish. I had longanisa, and it was so good. It was amazing. And then came back, and now we're in the middle of a move. I am using Morphe. This is the Pretty in Peach palette. I do like their palettes. I find them really pigmented for what you pay. Like this was only $16 Canadian. I had another one, but the bottom here broke. So that is the one thing. Obviously the packaging is not the greatest. I also used to work as a makeup artist. So for me, doing makeup is very therapeutic, and I usually do spend about an hour doing my makeup before the day starts. But these are the shades. They're really pretty. So we are moving because, I think I find that a bit too orange today. I think most people know this, but it is really expensive right now to live. We thought that we were going to be okay renting for the rest of our lives, and oh my gosh, it is expensive. Basically right now, for what we pay for rent, we could be paying mortgage plus strata insurance. And that's not to say that that's the case for everything, but it is absolutely ridiculous how much we pay in rent. Because our city is near Vancouver, and for those of you who don't know, Vancouver is currently going through like a crazy housing thing. Like it's ridiculous. I think I just saw the other day somebody was offering discounted rent at like $2,700 or something if you were friends with benefits. It's kind of ridiculous right now. All you have to do is look up Vancouver real estate, or Vancouver real estate, but Vancouver rentals. Like people are renting out their hallways in their apartments and charging like $800 or $900 for it. While we've been looking, I was laughing because somebody was actually going to sell and I don't know how common this is, but oh no, this broke. See what I mean about the cheap packaging? So I don't know if you can see this, but like right there, we've got a break. So this will not last very long. Somebody was like trying to sell their parking space for $100,000, and the parking space probably fits like a small like coupe style car. And I was like, what? So that's a thing right now that's happening, and it is very, very expensive to live. So we decided that we're going to try and buy, because we are basically throwing away essentially $2,500 a month, and there's no equity. We need to change that. I'm gonna use this. This is a Revlon palette that I really like. It's called Clapback in the Revlon So Fierce Prismatic palette. Some of the names I come up with, man, like it's just ridiculous. Anyways, so we figured that for what we're paying in rent, we could definitely do a lot better, even if we just get into the market. I remember when we moved into this place, like this was the dream. The old place we were in was my then boyfriend, now husband's rental. And it was something like 650 square feet. It was built in the 1950s. The floor was rotting. We couldn't really use the balcony because the balcony was also kind of rotting. It was just like a nightmare of epic proportions. But the rent was cheap. I think it was like $1,100 or $1,200. When we ended up moving out, I was like, okay, here are the things I want. I just want a really nice backsplash. I want like a kitchen island or like a chef style like island to be able to prep food on, and a dishwasher. Like a dishwasher is fantastic. Some acquaintances of ours, they lived in a similar building next to this one, and they were like, hey, there are a couple of units available. I walked through here and I almost cried. I was like, oh my God, I never would have thought I would live in a place like this. At the time, it was, for the pricing, it wasn't too bad. It was 2018, and I think it was something like nearly $2,100. So a couple of years later, and we've been served, I think, a handful of rent increases, and we're basically going to be at $2,500. To know that you are spending a certain amount of money and getting something back, like at least equity back, that is comforting. And like that is ours by the end of it. My husband has not been keen on buying, and then eventually was like, we're just doing it. Like we just have to, there's no choice. So here we are. With that long story, as is typical of me because I ramble and I talk in M dashes, we are moving to Surrey to go save some money for a year. Recently, in the last couple of years, I have tried to minimize makeup just because I want my skin to breathe, but there are just some days when I'm like, I want to wear makeup, and today's one of those days. I spent 10 years as a makeup artist. Worked at a drugstore, and that's kind of, but before that I did pageantry, and that's how I got into makeup. I was kind of voluntold to enter by my mother, and for a year I basically spent time like doing some modeling and whatnot, and I didn't like it. I just didn't like how restricted everything was, and I think at the time, like, it was still very trendy to be extremely skinny. I was like 14 at the time, so I just didn't want to do that, and it was more so for my mom, who was really adamant that I do modeling because, you know, every other Filipino girl was doing it, why can't you? To which I said I really would rather not. I would rather get myself an education and graduate from high school and maybe go to college or university. And I basically ended up in university for like worst years of my life, and I wish I had discovered like other options or just going to college instead. I think that's the big lie. Like, everyone says you'll have it all figured out, you'll know what to do. No one ever has it all figured out. In my case, at least, it's a lot of like trial and error and trying to figure things out. And maybe you stay in that trial phase for a really, really, really long time. I didn't know that I wanted to go to journalism. I mean, it made a lot of sense after the fact. It was like, okay, when you look at some of the hobbies I had, like I wrote for the school newspaper. I did a lot of the announcements every day before, you know, second block in high school. I'm very talkative, as you will probably see in a lot of these videos, and it's taken me a while to come to terms with that, but just accepting who I am and what I like doing, what I don't like doing, that for me is, I think, the challenge now moving forward. It's like, okay, this is who you are and you have to embrace it. This is such a classic, like, constantly recommended on YouTube. Like, if you don't know what it is, then it won't be hard to find the video. I have a lot of redness. I have a lot of acne prone skin. I can thank my mother for the acne. So over the last few weeks, I have been trying to adjust my sleep schedule just because it's been so all over the place. You can see as I'm putting this on how like different my skin is. I find that a lot of YouTubers still focus on really high-end makeup, and I quite frankly find high-end makeup to be bullshit. I'm sorry. I've been more into the sort of indie brands of makeup. Not that Too Faced is like an indie makeup brand, but a lot of the color related stuff I use is like the Kimchi Cosmetics stuff. I would like to transition like everything to the Kimchi Cosmetics line. We are completely like white now, which yikes. I need a little bit more coverage today, so I'm gonna go in with my Makeup Forever palette. This is the HD Skin Matte Velvet. I actually used this in television when I was still working in television, and I really liked it. It has quite a bit of oil in it relative to like loose powder. I actually usually use, you can read the bottom of the name right there, but I use this typically to cover up any redness if I'm going to like an event or like just even out my skin. I am gonna cheat actually. So I'm just taking this palette again. I don't like how red that is, but that's fine. There, at least there's some shade and light to my face again. Did anybody else suffer from like 90s pluckitis? Because I sure do, and still do. Really proud of how far I've come with my brows because they looked really bad. There we go. Again, could be worse. I think we need to change the pad on the lash curler. So I usually do about 3 coats of mascara, let it dry. And in the meantime, I'm going to just go off camera and wipe down my lips and then put on a lip color. I basically have 2 products that I use. This is the Kimchi Mattely Pop-In Liquid Lipstick. I absolutely love and adore this lipstick for like everyday use. Almost every lip color I use with the NYX Professional Makeup Retractable Lip Liner in Sand Beige. And then usually I'll just fill in like the sides. And then I'm gonna go in with my Kimchi Matte Lipstick. So this is the final look. I don't even know what this was. It's like a chatty intro video to me and like the content I'm about to shoot. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.